All right, y'all, we are live here, Minneapolis, Minnesota, where it is 1 degree today, fellas. Yes. One singular degree, man. And we are, we're here, Island Block Radio, powered by Dash. And, man, we are out here, Super Bowl weekend for the Super Luau, but we got a special guest. And it's kind of weird calling him a guest. It's like family, big right. Bro. You want to introduce this handsome young man?
Man, Samoan raised Hawaii guy, the great 808, and 4-time Super Bowl champion.
What?
Yes, for not one of my favorite teams in the world, but definitely one of the greats, ladies and gentlemen. We got in studio right now, Mr. Jesse Sapolu.
Hey, what's up, bro?
How you guys doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Man, this is an incredible honor to have you on. I mean, so crazy, man. Look, we get to talk to you all the time, but man, for those fans who are tuning in right now, Jesse was really one of those guys, right, fellas, that we turn on the TV and we watch NFL games, and it's like, yo, there's somebody that actually looks like me. A lot more athletic and a lot richer than me, but we can relate to.
No, but to have you on this week, especially, Super Bowl weekend, brings back a lot of memories for you, Jess?
Yeah, it does. Well, I've never played in any Super Bowl in cold weather like this, right. But in fact, 2 of my Super Bowls were in Miami, but I sat in our hotel yesterday thinking about what the teams are going through.
Right.
And I kind of can identify with their routine. And it's all fun and games when you come in Sunday, right. Monday, Tuesday with all the media being around. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, you start pushing your family away because it's time to get serious.
Yeah. Well, I started doing that years ago. But you know what? Jess, I got to stop you, man. The glare from your ring right now is really bothering me. If you could just put that away for... Jeez.
He's wearing it. The Raiders got 3. What are you
we got 3 back in the 80s. It's like, wait, which one is that you're wearing today, Jess?
This is Super Bowl 23. We had to drive the ball 96 yards in the last 2 minutes to win it. One of the better Super Bowls. So
right.
I kind of like it because of the drama that it brought, and it tests you as a man and how to hang in there. And my thinking was, because I was the only Polynesian on the team, right. is wow. don't get a holding cough because you're going to hear it. Back then it was an answering machine. You're going to hear it on your answering machine from all your family and friends. But it was just focusing one play at a time. And then of course we had a trigger man that's not very good named Joe Montana that took us over the top. So
legendary, a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Greatest Super Bowl memory.
Greatest Super Bowl memory. I think that particular drive to win it because we made enough mistakes that Cincinnati was in the game. My other 3 Super Bowls were blowouts, so
right.
It was fun at the time. But when thinking back on it, this is one of the most memorable ones.
Right, definitely earned that one, right?
Yeah, to earn it. In fact, our 2 closest Super Bowls were against the Cincinnati Bengals. And every time you listen to Chris Collinsworth on TV and they talk about the Niners, there's that little edge to his comments because, we took 2 rings from him.
Just there are a lot of, obviously with Polynesian players, there were a lot of positions that were mainly on the line, and now we're starting to see more skilled players. Like you brought up, Marcus, you brought up Tua. What about coaching? Because it seems like the Polynesian player is kind of evolving. Have you ever thought about coaching, or what are your thoughts on Polynesians moving in the head coaching positions?
Well, we're moving in that direction. Yeah. The Rooney rule really is, a lot of people talk about is for the African American race, but it's really we kind of fall into that, right. And we're still evolving, we're still growing. My youngest son is involved in that industry. Yeah. I had to ask him 4 times, "Are you sure?" But we just got to keep pushing forward. We're starting to have some head coaches in college now. BYU, Navy. Norm Chow was at Hawaii for a while, but it's one of those things that we're going to push as far as we can, and then let the next generation take it to the next level.
That's awesome. We have, just recently, Uyunglele just got picked up. He's the D-line coach at Arizona, at my alma mater.
Yes.
That was the home of your ex-coach, Dick Tomey. Mm-hmm. I mean, these kids, it's such a big impact. Like these coaches, these colleges they're recruiting these coaches to recruit our kids, well, right?
That's the college game.
Yeah, Dick Tomey, one of the pioneers of going to Samoa back in the early 90s, late 80s, and to to see these kids, these Samoan kids playing on fields, barefoot, half pads, sharing pads.
With a coconut.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
We have one playing this week.
Right.
So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Destiny Vial.
There you go.
We would do clinics there, and we would take pairs of shoes,
Right.
and they appreciate that stuff.
No, absolutely.
For him to go straight from the island of Tutuila, Pago Pago, American Samoa, to the Super Bowl, those are the things I'm sure is going to run through his mind as, 3 hours away from kickoff.
Right.
As he, one of the things that I thought about is when I grew up in Samoa, what are the chances I would get to play in the biggest game football offers in the world,
Right.
and not only do it once, but 4 times. And I'm thinking, how in the world did I end up here?
Yeah.
But it just shows you that the country that we live in, if you work hard, you put in the honest work, your chances will increase of accomplishing your dreams.
Right. I mean, to see it come from those humble beginnings to now, and, just like your story, and to Marcus, and like this all came back. This all started in Samoa years ago, before these guys were born, and to see where it is now. All right, and just to switch up gears, why we're here, we got the Super Luau going down today at 6 o'clock. You'll be there, Jess, and hopefully Juju and a lot of other Polynesian players. And a lot of the Eagles players will be there too, but, Island Block Raider will be hosting it and emceeing it, just for the fact that the NFL is recognizing the contributions that our Polynesian community has made to the NFL and other lanes of industry in the industry. It's refreshing just to be out here. I mean, it's cold as heck. I wish we were in Miami or Cali, but I mean, just to be recognized and for the NFL to recognize us, man, it's a big thing. Like this is definitely a step in the right direction for all of us.
Well, definitely. The fact that we're bringing the Polynesian flavor
Right.
in 0 degree weather.
Right?
I've never seen our island people wear so much clothes at the same time.
And they come into the hotel breathing hard.
Not just because we're out of shape, but I mean, it is literally -1 degree out there.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing. And to do it in a city like Minnesota where, there's no palm trees, but
Right.
the fact that we bring a little bit of our Polynesian flavor.
Oh, absolutely.
And some of the people will experience it today at 6 o'clock at the Great Mall to see the Polynesian Cultural Center dancers. The Great Fiji will be
right.
performing. It's us sharing our culture, sharing with people where the roots and foundation of all these players come from, because the amount of numbers that we have, not only in the NFL but in college, we're less than 1/2 of 1% of the population, and yet our numbers is pretty good as far as the players that are produced from the islands.
It's amazing.
Let's talk about your efforts as far as going back to New Zealand and even Samoa to actually kind of like educate them about the sport.
Well, like I said, I remember when we first started, and now every year in the small island of American Samoa, the population of 65,000 people, there's almost 20 scholarships of Division I that come out of there every year.
Wow.
I remember when I was a young 49er player, if we get one Division II guy, like a guy like Floyd Scanlon back in the day, a guy that Momo Vaiao that played at UH, who's uncle of Destiny that's playing this week.
Right.
That was a big thing. But the thing back in the day is a kid would have to move to Hawaii or Los Angeles to get recognized. But now you can come straight from the islands, and that's how we move forward. And like I said, we're going to keep pushing it.
Yeah, we are live here, Minneapolis, Minnesota, from Morsekode, Dash Studios, Dash Radio. It's your boys from Island Block with the great Super Bowl champ, Jesse Sapolu, in the building. I got to ask you this. Okay, you come from a way different era, but if social media was around when you were playing, I need to hear those stories right there. Would you be in trouble?
Yeah.
You got to tell us some stories.
Yeah, you would be in trouble. But social media is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because there's guys that get in trouble, and yet we would bring them in with the police department into our camp and scold them and lecture them, and that was this innocent part of raising. Because even though we're professional athletes, I was 21 when I came to the Niners. There was a lot for me to learn, not only for myself, but we all come from different backgrounds, and then all of a sudden we go from making no money, to getting a certain amount of check
Right.
that comes into your bank account.
I'm still looking for
nobody
that
has
check.
ever, and the NFL is better now. We have those rookie symposiums
Yeah.
to teach the kids all these things. That never happened in my day.
Wow.
It's what I depended on is how I was raised by my parents, how Polynesians are very respectful of coaches because the high chief in our families in Samoa, that's how we looked at in being disciplined. The great example is Marcus Mariota apologizing to the media because his mom got all over him, and yet the media sat back and said, "You weren't that bad." But that's the foundation of who we are. Right. And social media scares me from the standpoint that I'm waiting for someone to say, I'm too big to respect all of those ways that the Polynesian and the Samoan foundation of how you were raised.
Oh, that's not good.
I'm so afraid of that, but all we can do is be here for these kids, because these kids are making, $400,000 a week. I mean, imagine that, living the way we used to live, where 8 of us can be in a 2-bedroom place and feel very comfortable because that's how we were brought up as families. But it's a little different now. So we got to try to do the best that we can to make sure that we're grounded with the new generation.
Let's talk about your efforts with the Polynesian Hall of Fame.
Well, that's, one of those things where we do camps and the Goodwill Mission in Samoa with Coach June Jones, who used to coach in the NFL, and we were talking about the history of the first Polynesians to ever come into the NFL. We found out the first guy was 1945. Wow. El Lolotai. Yeah, I never thought we would go back that far.
I thought it was you.
Thank
So
God.
it's not just something.
Thank God I fall into, still the younger side of things. But and then you realize that we can't forget about those people. We need to teach these kids, the Marcus Mariotas, the kids that are playing this week, that there were others that blazed the way for them to get it to where it is today, and honor them, honor the guys that we have now, and the Polynesian Bowl is for the future.
Yeah.
To make sure that our kids still find a way to believe in the ways that we raise them in the Polynesian culture, and make sure they don't get away from that.
Jess, I got a question for you, man. We have the Patriots, we have the Eagles. All the players are getting ready for the big game, and so I got to ask you, as somebody who has been to the big game and won it 4 times, what are they thinking? What's going through their mind right now as they're sitting in the locker room, sitting in their hotel room?
Well, you're trying to start to push your family away, and if you have a wife, that's her job. Make sure you tell your relatives, have a good time, but you can't see them anymore. Today's Friday, so it's one of those deals where you come in Sunday, you have media sessions, it's all fun and games, but it's now time to think about, for me personally, I was thinking, my number one concern is not to leave anything where I can regret it later and look back and say,
Right.
I should have done more. This is it. This is the biggest game of your life. You win this game, you will always be identified as a champion. The other temptation that we had, and I was a leader of the Niners my last 6-7 years, is to make sure that nobody's bigger than the team. You see, the temptation is even special team guys have 10 media people at their table, because you got almost 2,500 media people here. And the temptation from the human aspect is, this is a time for me to promote my brand, or this is a time for me to say something stupid so that, it carries.
Yeah.
Well, it's about the team. And if you want to be a champion, the leaders of those teams have to, hone those things in together. And I know Prime Time's going to be here. He can tell you a few experiences that we had in the one Super Bowl that he played with us. And it's pretty interesting, because we were the heavy favorites against the Chargers. I think we were 14-point favorites. So the pressure was on us. And everything was going perfect until one incident. You heard about Prime and Jerry Rice.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a good thing, because it forced us to refocus and realize, hey, we are favorites, but we need to play our best to win this game.
Yeah. No one team member is bigger than the whole.
No, you can't. There's no way you can win it. This league is so tough that you need everybody to be on the same page to win this thing.
Right. Well, I repeated that because I wanted Joe to get the message. No one ratchet member of this team is more ratchet than the rest.
Outside of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, because I think those would be the easy answers. Who was your all-time favorite teammate to play with, and why?
My line, the four guys I line up against, because we were considered undersized, and that's something that we had to fight through our whole careers. I played at 305,
Right.
At 6'3", so we had to make sure that we played and we believed in each other. We were the team within the team and play together, because if Joe stays upright, the chances of us winning that game increases a lot.
And he wasn't the most mobile quarterback out there.
No, he wasn't. He was mobile enough. Now,
Yeah.
the next guy that we blocked for, Steve Young,
Steve
was,
Young, right.
was
a
the
game
Michael
changer
Vick
right there.
before Michael
Right,
Vick came
right.
out. But Joe was more mobile than Tom. But as far as the calmness and the way he maneuvered that pocket was something to watch. And it's something that we appreciated, because we knew exactly where he was going to be.
Right.
Those running quarterbacks, sometimes you think you're blocking good, and then the next thing you know,
He's
this
gone.
side of you, so.
Why is he already by the sideline?
Exactly. So
Toughest D lineman you ever went against?
the late Reggie White, Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay
Green Bay
Packers.
Packers.
I remember when Buddy Ryan was with Philadelphia, he became the head coach, and they ran that Bear 46 front where you cover the two guards and then you cover the center. Well, the guy they brought in to cover the center in those particular defenses was Reggie White.
Right.
So now the two guards are occupied, and I'm left one-on-one with him. And my line mates would make fun of me. You're from the island,
Right.
and in that particular front, you're on the island by yourself.
Absolutely.
But that's one guy I would have a hard time sleeping the night before, thinking about, because my main strength, and I was talking about how undersized we were, was quickness and athleticism.
Right.
Well, Reggie White's athletic enough to get by you,
Right.
but he was also big and strong.
Oh, yeah.
So, there was no way I could cheat the way I said against him. It was an honest thing, but it was a battle. But that's what I talked about. So that's the toughest.
It's like he invented that slap and swim move, man.
Yeah, and that hump.
Yeah,
that hump
yeah,
that he has.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
like
so,
that guy perfected that thing. Yeah,
He was
Reggie
just a
White.
strong dude.
I tell this story every time we have you on, but so I played for Dick Tomey, and Dick Tomey was at Hawaii with Jesse over here. But every time he had the offensive lineman, and you guys want to see tough? You guys know what tough is? And then it was a running joke. Everybody was like, "Oh, here goes a Jesse Sapolu. Here goes a Jesse Sapolu story. Here we go."
I'm still paying.
Oh, there was a running joke for like 3 years. We were like, "Oh crap, here we go." Every time someone did something wrong, it was, if you got beaten, it was like, "You know who didn't get beat? Jesse Sapolu." Jesse Sapolu, he didn't get beat. Yes, he's Superman, coach. He was like, golly. He showed us a video. He showed us this video from the '80s of you doing lineman drills. You had the shortest shorts. I'm talking about John Stockton shorts.
Join the club. My sons make fun of that.
And
video.
and glasses. He had the
I have my shades on.
Yeah, he was like, we're all watching the film, and we're like, is this guy doing drills in sunglasses and short shorts? And I was like, yeah. We're watching the film on a
The
guy.
story to that is, the film crew was looking for me because Dick asked them to look for me to do the demonstration.
Right.
And I would only do it if they let me wear my
With sunglasses.
shades. That was the deal.
That was a
Now,
late
the
night
short
last
shorts,
night.
short shorts, I couldn't do anything. That was a fashion back
Sure it was. Yes, sure it was. So why are you still wearing it now? I don't understand that part. It was like,
that's CTE right there.
they're going to find that out in the CTE research. I was like, gosh, dang,
Oh
man.
man, we got NFL legend Jesse Sapolu in the building, and man, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. Before we let you go, who's winning the big game this weekend?
Well, my heart wants Philadelphia to win. It's just that competitiveness in me. We were the first to 5, and then Pittsburgh got 5 and 6, and then the Patriots joined us at 5, and I don't want to be left behind too much, before Jimmy G comes through. But My heart says Philadelphia, but that championship pedigree is, I know the standard that's set in that locker room.
Right.
That's really it's really hard to overcome. And I'm hoping Philadelphia, but if I was a betting man, I would go with the Patriots.
Okay.
There you go.
So the Big Jet says the Patriots, man. So and we want to thank everybody for tuning in worldwide. You know, shout out to Morsekode for and the staff out here, man. On behalf of everybody here at Island Block Radio, powered by Dash, Island Block Radio, Pulse of the Pacific.
Bird Eye Sliz.
We out. Thanks, Justin.
Tell me about that thing.
That dick, oh my God.